Pat, to you and to the entire Koch family, I come today with the love and condolences of 8.4 million New Yorkers who really are grieving with you at this moment, although Ed, on the other hand, has got to be loving all this attention. President Clinton, Mayors Dinkins and Giuliani, Governor Cuomo, Governors Pataki and Spitzer, Senator Schumer, Gillibrand and D'Amato, and city and state, federal and international officials and dignitaries, friends, family, and fellow New Yorkers. Everyone is here today. He knew from the beginning that the key to success lay in throwing political caution to the wind, and it's easy to forget just how badly our city needed that kind of leadership, because the New York that Ed inherited is almost unimaginable today. Graffiti-filled subways, miles of abandoned buildings, filthy streets that were unsafe to walk in daylight, much less at night, and municipal government that was broke and had stopped functioning. The South Bronx and other neighborhoods looked like they had been bombed out in an air raid. New York was in a state of despair and decay. And for the first time in our long history, the whole city seemed to be in terminal decline. Now, New York has always been a magnet for people, a place of growth and progress. As Ed once said, it's the place where, quote, the future comes to audition. But in the 1970s, that had ceased to be true. Then came Koch. Ed held up his hands and shouted, "Enough! We will not accept this. Our best days are still ahead." Ed convinced us that we could be great again, and he reminded us of why we love New York, and he inspired us to fight for it. He understood how tough our problems were, but because he had the confidence and courage to believe that problems could be cured, he not only arrested our decline and showed that this unruly city was governable, he was not only restoring the city's fiscal health and made us once again the nation's economic engine. He was not only building affordable housing where fires had raged, he not only made New York City once again a national leader in equal rights and arts and culture. He did something even more important. He restored the arc of our city's history. In the decade before Ed became mayor, we had lost our ways. And thanks to him, we became great again. And let me tell you, that was not inevitable. Ed made it so. It is fair to say that the city we know today would not exist without him. Everything that David Dinkins and Rudy Giuliani and I accomplished has been built on the foundation that Ed laid. It is a foundation that is as strong and as unshakable as Ed's faith in the genius and beauty of New York and his faith in God. Rabbi Posner, you'll be happy to know I've been doing my biblical research, and I think it's only fitting that this week's Torah portion is about Moses leading the Jews out of bondage in Egypt. Now, Ed, in his own way, was our Moses, just with a little less hair. He led us out of darkness, and he gave us hope. And while he may not have parted the Red Sea, he did break a subway strike by standing on a bridge and shouting words of encouragement. And just as Moses died right before he reached the Promised Land, Ed dies hours before the documentary about him opened in theaters. Leave it to Ed to find the best way to maximize publicity for a film about his life. Now, as you know, Ed will be buried at Trinity Cemetery in Upper Manhattan. Just think about it. A Polish Jew in an Episcopal graveyard in a largely Dominican neighborhood. What could be more New York or even more Ed Koch? Ed admired people of all faiths, and he's deeply proud of his own. On his tombstone, Ed chose to have the last words of Daniel Pearl, who was beheaded overseas. And he inscribed with the words that Daniel Pearl said, My father is Jewish. My mother is Jewish. I am Jewish. Has there ever been a simpler, more eloquent statement of pride in one's faith and in one's people than those 11 words? It was deeply moving to many of us when we realized that Ed had died on the anniversary of David Pearl's murder. Now, a few years ago, we were making a video about some of the tough times the city has been through when we asked him, "Would you ever live anywhere else?" Ed smiled, and then he looked straight in the camera and said, "The only place I would accept is heaven. Nothing else would take the place." It's not hard to picture Ed getting up to heaven, meeting God, and saying with a big smile, "How'd I do?" And there is no doubt, Cardinal, you're not going to be happy about this, but I'm telling you, I've talked to God, and I know what's happening. God said what so many people around the city and the country and all over the world have been saying over the last few days. Ed, you did great. You really did great. So God bless you, Ed Koch, and God bless the city you love so much and that you serve so well.